Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome along. It's Friday night on the bus. It's the only place to be on a Friday night in the old Celtic land and YouTube. Thank you for coming along and joining us, because yes, it is that Friday feeling. It is still pre-season, but I thought let's get back into pre-season training just like Celtic are right now. And of course, they're over in the on the other side of the Atlantic. You know, Hulk Hogan stood at the Republican convention, said that Trumpamania is running wild. Well, Celtic mania is running wild in the USA, I'll tell you folks, because yes, we'll be talking a little bit about the tour tonight. And yeah, we've got news of another signing, a new signing, folks. Kasper Schmeichel is now officially a Celtic player. One of the worst kept secrets in football for the last 10 days or so. He's now officially a Celtic player. So we'll be talking about that. And as you can see tonight on the bus, I've joined by my Tuesday ticket buddy. The roles are swapped tonight. I'm in the hosting seat, but we're kind of coordinated and matching tonight, David. We've really made an effort. You've got the Boise Bus Bumblebee shirt on, and I've got the original Bumblebee shirt on. But yeah, we're matching. But how you doing, David? Good to see you on a Friday night, mate.
I'm good, mate. I've not been able to be on a Friday for months, so I was looking forward to it. When you gave me a wee call earlier, and I thought, listen, I'm not doing anything tonight, so I can jump on if you fancy. So you said, yes, come on board. I'm always welcome. So I was like, yes, I shall. Went to grab I was going to go grab a Celtic top, and this was sitting at the top, and I thought, I've not worn this in ages, so I'll get the old Boise Bus Bumblebee kit out. Bring it back retro.
It's retro now. It is. It's a collector's item now. Yeah, we said at the time, we told people, if you don't get one, there will come a point where new viewers will come along and ask, where do you get that top? How do I get that top? You can't now. They're collector's items these days.
Collector's items.
Yes,
it's
indeed.
It's a bit tight.
But it's good to see it getting a run out again. And of course, it's Friday night on the bus. What would a Friday night on the bus be without me and Liam being on the same screen? So, Punk Duck Warlord, you've not been on in a wee while, mate. So it's good to see you. And how are you doing tonight, mate?
Doing great, mate. I feel the last time we talked, we were talking about what transfers were going to come in really quick, what deals we were going to get done. We were going to get Bernardo done, Idah done, and all that. It's been that long. And I've actually watched a Euros, and I watched Canada and the Copa America. We can talk about some of that later as well, if you like, because
I heard Ali Johnson had a good tournament.
New boy Johnson actually showed a bit of a sign of improvement, So let's talk about that later as well. But it was nice having a couple of weeks off, but it's good to be back in the bus, talk some Celtic,
Good stuff, mate. Good stuff. Glad to hear it. And yes, folks, of course, all you that are coming in to join us right now, you can do all that good stuff. New season, but nothing's changed in that sense. So hit that like button. Obviously helps us out in the old algorithm. CSE gets the bus and more people's recommended videos on YouTube. Of course, hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so yet. Help us out massively in that case. And of course, remember the bell notification, because then you'll be notified when the bus is on the road, which we do plenty of times during the week, and I expect that'll be continuing into the new season. Of course, get involved in our comment section, like many people are doing so far, like Smell the Glove, 420 Somewhere, Jim Dolan, Martin Weir, Thomas Burns, all the hits. David Kelly's in as well tonight, Alex Forsyth, all killer, no filler. It's all the hits on here, guys. And of course, you can share the link of the Boise Bus far and wide on whatever social media platform tickles your fancy. And again, that helps us out. And of course, head over to piesports.com, and you know what to do. Use that code BUS1888 and get 12.5% off of your order. And yes, with all that said and done, let's have a wee chat about the latest Celtic news, because things have changed, David, since Tuesday night when we were doing the ticket. Kasper Schmeichel, to say the worst kept secret in football in Celtic at the moment. And yeah, he's now officially a Celtic player. Last night they announced it. And the plan is coming together. The goalkeeper plan, the vision, David, that we're talking about. Because I said on Tuesday night, originally when Kasper Schmeichel's name came up, and I think it was Regan last week, dropped out of nowhere on the Tuesday ticket, and the tours were kind of like, don't know. And I know his name came up again on the TNF. I don't know, people maybe knew something, maybe. But again, I was kind of like, I'm okay with it as long as there is somebody coming in that has got there's a clear plan. And I actually put the timescale on it of maybe January Celtic will do that, but no, incredibly, it seems like Celtic have obviously went down a bit with Sinisalo coming in as well. But yeah, Kasper, I think it's quite a shrewd move in the end. I say now that I can see what they're planning here, I feel a lot better about it. The guy is still in top physical form. He was Denmark's keeper at the Euros there. by all accounts, I think he played pretty well. Denmark were quite unlucky to go out in the game that they did to Germany. Thought they played pretty well on the night, apart from a harsh VAR goal denying them. We've heard that before. But yeah, I think he played okay in that. And, that's like the creme de la creme of football, these international tournaments. So I've got no worries in that sense, even though, the optics of it might be a bit, a 37-year-old retiring, a 37-year-old coming in. But I think for a year anyway, because that's the minimum he's going to do with us, I think it's a smart move just now. And another one, David, where there's nothing wrong with a manager going back to what he knows, is there?
No, absolutely not. If you were to go back hundreds of episodes of the bus now, I did an episode where I was kind of looking at players that I thought were possible players that we could look at maybe a year and a half ago, and I brought up Schmeichel, and I thought, because we knew he was leaving Leicester, and I kind of thought, well, an older keeper, but not too old at the time. I thought I'd be more than happy for a keeper of his calibre coming in. Fast forward a year and a half later, when his name was mentioned again, I thought to myself, maybe a year and a half ago I'd have said, yeah, not so sure now. But when the dust settles and, like you say, you're looking at, this is a guy that's been playing top level football in a competitive league. He's never had. When we look at the likes of Joe Hart, who his career fell off a bit of a cliff when he was kind of discarded at Man City, took a massive confidence drop, went to Torino, was it?
Torino was one of the many clubs that stopped along the way.
Torino, Burnley. We was never going to get a game at Burnley just due to the two other English keepers that were there at the time. Sitting on Spurs' bench, he was a player that we took on and we took a risk of because we knew what he'd done in the past. We knew there was still a player there. He's just fell a bit to the wayside. So when you're in looking at likes of Kasper Schmeichel, yes, he's 6 months older than Joe Hart, but when he left Leicester, obviously he went to France. He played in France and the top level in France. Then he goes to Anderlecht, another big side in Europe. He's their first team goalkeeper there, and he's still the Denmark #1 goalkeeper and captain. And like you said, Phil, he had let's take his age away from it. He had a very good tournament, I felt. I mean, he played a blinder against Germany.
Yep.
I mean, a German side that, were looking really, really good. Full of players that had won La Liga, the Bundesliga, the French League, the Champions League, all these top players, and he stood out in that game. And now he's coming to Celtic, and like you said, he's a big name in world football, regardless of who his dad is. He is now in his own right a big name in world football. Everybody knows who Kasper Schmeichel is. He's won the Premier League. He's won the FA Cup. Won the FA Cup under our now current manager Brendan Rodgers. He knows what he's getting. Yes, he's at the end of his career, but he's still got plenty to offer. And one thing that he has to offer is obviously experience and knowledge that he can pass down to Sinisalo, who I don't think here just to accept that he's going to be on the bench and be the understudy to Kasper Schmeichel. I think Rodgers will have had a conversation with him and saying, look, maybe the optics right now is that you'll be understudy to Kasper, but I expect you to push him. You're looks like you've kind of taken over as Finland's #1 goalkeeper, am I right? Another international goalkeeper. We brought in 2 international goalkeepers this window, Phil. That's pretty good going, I think, from Celtic. But he'll be saying to him, there's no reason why you can't take the #1 shot from Kasper Schmeichel. I'm not expecting you just to sit and wait for a year. Try and take it now. And I mean, and he's been brave enough to leave Aston Villa, who, by all accounts, by looking at it online, their fans aren't too happy that he's away. And Exeter fans are obviously disappointed that they couldn't keep a hold of him. So I think we've brought in 2 really good goalkeepers. And obviously time will tell who will establish himself as #1 this season. Probably Schmeichel, but good competition. And we've not had competition in that position for a long, long time. Any goalkeeper that's come in over the years have known that they're going to be, they're not going to have to worry about Scott Bain.
Yeah. And obviously Benjamin Seacrest didn't quite work out there as well. Less said about him, the better. But Liam says, no, been a wee while since you've been on regarding recent Celtic news. So let's get your take on it, because you've not had a chance to speak on this yet. So obviously the goalkeeper was a huge priority. As we know, February 22nd was when Joe Hart handed in his resignation. Gave us that much notice, as David Kelly does say here. The keeper situation looks to have been brilliantly managed something we don't normally say about Celtic hierarchy. But yes, the word's brilliantly managed. Experienced top-level keeper with a young, highly rated understudy, but it's taken us 6 months to sort these out. That's my worry. A few people have definitely got that. How are you feeling about it, Liam? Are you still thinking that we could have done a bit better, or are you quite happy with the vision here? Because, as I said at the top show, they're like, if it was just Schmeichel on his own coming in with Scott Bain still going to be the number 2, I'd be a bit peeved right now. But the fact that there is somebody there that looks like there is a bit of a vision here, a bit of a plan in place, then it does fill me with a lot more confidence. But Liam, how are you feeling about it?
I think it's a great signing. I'm really excited about seeing Schmeichel play with Celtic. I think there's 3 things that I like about it. Is the first thing is the optics. You know, I think when you're bringing new players into the team and all that, to have somebody that's a visual, you know, just instant hit right away. Like when you look over at Joe Hart, you know, you've seen that guy growing up. If, you know, especially younger players, right? That will come in and just, you know, you get that instant respect for a keeper as well. The other thing I like about him is vocal, and I was worried that we'd go for a foreign goalkeeper, you know, like somebody for Croatia that maybe didn't have as great a command of the English language as they should, because I think their defenders are going to need a lot of talking from the back as far as directing and placing them and just giving them roles. I don't think I think CCV's got enough on his hands with that fullback line with it and put everybody in. So I think you get that sort of you know, that sort of intelligence that's came through experience at the back. And then the third point, I can't remember what the third point was.
He's handsome. What?
Dave says he's handsome.
He'll sell the calendars.
We'll be selling snow globes and all that.
He's definitely a very vocal one, Liam, what you're saying. If you actually look at him and his dad, other than the physical resemblance, the way they play and the way they conduct themselves in a game, his dad was a very loud one, you know, very much shouting at his defenders. One of the famous ones, the game against Arsenal, the semi-final, when Ryan Giggs scores that wonder goal, the one where he runs for the halfway line and puts in the top corner. In that game, Dennis Bergkamp missed a penalty in the last minute, and of course, the first thing the Man U players do is they run to Schmeichel to, you know, hug him and congratulate him, and he's pushing them all away, basically saying, get fucking back in position. We've still got a game to win here. And, you know, he's so I've seen that in Kasper as well, with the way he grills his defenders. And, you know, I've seen a clip this week, I don't know if you saw it as well, doing the rounds of Peter talking about his son and saying on the day that they got presented the Premiership trophy when Leicester won it, Kasper Schmeichel was furious in the dressing room because he conceded a goal that day, which stopped him from getting the Golden Gloves, which again just shows you, okay, Leicester have pulled off a miracle. They've won the league. You'd think that at that point, once they've won it, they're just like, we've done it, man. We can live off this for the rest of our life. We can rest easy for the rest of the season. But no, Kasper Schmeichel was furious he didn't win the Golden Gloves that season. After that, because he conceded a goal that day. So it shows you, Liam, that he's got that mentality, and I think that will go well, especially as you say, with some of the people in the back line that he's going to have to marshal. But I think, Liam, that will go well for him, won't it?
I remember my third point. He's already played in Scotland.
He has.
You know? He had a season with Falkirk, I think, right?
He did. Yep.
So I think that will be good. I'm looking forward to see him in the hoops. And the only thing I'm wondering now is with the Danish coach, will he get dropped now because he's now playing in a league that's not up to the Danish coach's aspirations?
Well, that's interesting you say that. See, I think Schmeichel is likely staying because of his position. He's a goalkeeper. I think with O'Reilly being a midfielder and there being more competition for that position, that's why O'Reilly was deemed down the pecking order. But Schmeichel might still stick around there. But there is a few younger keepers come through. In fact, we were linked to one a few times this window. Jensen, that plays at Sparta Prague. He was one of the names that came up. He's one of the ones that's sort of in the outskirts of it. But I've got a funny feeling that a goalkeeper might just keep his place there, but remains to be seen. I mean, you never know. Maybe Kasper will also just like retire for national football at this stage. Who knows? But yeah, at the end of the day, he's now a player, and I'm looking forward to seeing him. Seeing that they say Schmeichel, they say his dad, the character. What was it? The big sort of the thing Manuel Neuer does when he makes himself big. You know, Schmeichel was always good at that. Schmeichel Senior. I've seen Kasper do it. So looking forward to seeing that in Celtic Park a few times this season. You know, a striker bearing down on him, the way he can close him down, and hopefully a a few good saves along the way to get fans on side. But yeah, David, obviously he's now flying out to the USA tour. So, I mean, we're not going to go and do deep dives on lineups and stuff like that. But yeah, I would expect their time out there, the two goalkeepers now being on board and out there to, be evenly split up. I don't think a wild Scott Bain is going to get too much game time out there. These next 3 games are probably going to be utilised for, the two of them try to get a bit of understanding of the setup and getting a bit of game time, see what they're all about. I say hopefully there's a few big saves, because a couple of the teams that we're playing, I would expect them to be tested. I would, seeing as Erling Haaland had a summer off, I would imagine he'll be ready to go when we play them later in the week. But yeah, I would, when it comes to Schmeichel and Sinisalo, I was going to say Sinisalo is apparently. Yeah, this is where the battle begins for them, like you were saying, David. It's up to Sinisalo to try and maybe he can establish himself right away. But as I said on Tuesday night, I'm still leaning towards it'll probably be cup games that it's more likely, and it will be Schmeichel to start the season. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the battle between them, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. I think obviously Sinisalo will probably start the first couple of games. Maybe they might just do like the completely swap the full squads at halftime. I don't like to do that, but probably see that he'll probably get a bit more game time in pre-season. I think Brendan knows what he's getting with Kasper Schmeichel, so he might want to see what Sinisalo's got to offer just now. I think Kasper probably getting a wee bit longer off being at the Euros as well. But yeah, we don't need to go into a deep dive and predicted lineups and stuff. But I do think he'll probably. It'd be good. Let's get him out there now and get him used to playing with the jersey on. Because, like I said, I think we all know what we're going to get with Kasper Schmeichel. Certainly, Brendan knows what he's going to get. Of course, he needs to get he needs to get used to playing with his new squad team members as well. But I think I'd like to see. I want to see what Sinisalo can offer us, and I know it's hard to judge based on obviously pre-season, but if this is what we've got to deal with right now. So I'm going to try and watch them if I can. It'll be obviously a late kickoff over here to watch them, but I'll try my best to. Was it Saturday night, Sunday morning?
Saturday night and Sunday morning we play DC United, then it's Man City and then Chelsea. I believe that's the order it goes in. I say when Man City rolls around, I'm sure Erling Haaland with his summer off that he's had. Yeah, that'll be fun.
When you were mentioning about whether Kasper Schmeichel would be dropped, Liam, or maybe he'll retire, Phil. Let's say he retires. Does that hinder his performances, or does that benefit Celtic that he's not playing international football anymore if he does retire? Because obviously it's probably a higher standard than Scottish football is. So would it benefit him not going over there and playing international football, or would it hinder him? What do you think?
I think being a goalkeeper, I think it wouldn't hinder us, because it's a goalkeeper. Like, there's not. I know they can get injured as well, but they're less likely to get injured than an outfield player. Because that's always a concern with international football, playing too many games and whatnot, running about too much. Injuries can mount up, bad tackles put on you. So goalkeepers aren't immune to injury, but I would still think that he could pull off playing in goal for his national team and still playing at a good, putting in a good shift at club level.
I think. Yeah, I wouldn't be worrying about injuries. I just more mean like against like the level of, even in his own mind, he's like, I need to make sure I'm doing my absolute best, so I'm still getting picked for the national side, rather than I don't need to worry about it too much because I'm not bothered about the national side anymore. That's more what I'm wondering. But he's a solid professional, and he's a born winner, so I doubt that would come into his mentality. But it just makes you wonder, Liam, that if he's not going off his national side and playing against his he could be coming up against the world's best, like Haaland or whatever. Rather than just playing in the Scottish League, if it would hinder his performances or not. But you're probably right, Phil.
Yeah, I think it's a confidence thing. If best goalkeepers have big egos, and you still want to be the main man everywhere you are. He's no, like, Joe Hart got dropped for the national team basically because he had a bad patch of form and wasn't getting selected. Schmeichel's still going to be selected. He's going to be playing every game, and so he actually might end up playing better for the national team as well. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to seeing him in the hoops, and I think the backup goalies, Sinisalo. What I've seen of him, I've seen the highlights against the Scotland game he played. There was that one incredible save that he made where he managed to scoop it out. I've seen Scott Bain making these similar type saves as well, and it's very interesting just to see what's going to happen with Bain and Siegrist. I thought Siegrist was away. I mean, I've not much a chance to talk to you guys, but he did a goodbye tweet and all that. I'm no. See you
I
later.
read that Neil Lennon wants him. I've read that Neil Lennon wants to sign him for his side in Romania.
Okay.
I read that tonight. I don't know how true that is, but I read it maybe about a couple hours ago.
A Tuesday Ticket episode that we did a few weeks ago, you read out an article where he'd said something on Instagram, or he'd done an interview on a podcast or something where he said, I basically saying I look forward to being out the door at Celtic. So I was under the impression he was gone. So I was as surprised as many to see him in those squads against Ayr United and Queen's Park. I was like, I thought he was away. But yeah, he's still there. But no, he's definitely be gone, and Bain will stick around to be third choice and literally there to tick a box as being a Scottish homegrown player for the UEFA squads when we have to register that. And well, speaking of ticking boxes, obviously we can put a tick next to the goalkeeper situation. It's now addressed. But of course, what now? What other positions need addressed? So of course, folks, it is Friday night on the bus, and there's a certain position on this channel, on this show, that we always seem to come around to. It just seems to happen. And I'm going to bring up a comment. Martin Weir has said, come on, Celtic. I want to start hearing about 20 quality left backs mentioned. Left back, yes. That is a name that hasn't come up in another position. And Mark Rowan said, no talk of a left back and no links. Makes me think they have something cooking in the background. KT, I don't know if it'll be Kieran Tierney. He's crocked after that injury in the Euros. I don't think he'll be playing for anybody for a good few months anyway. But Liam, tradition on the bus. It's a new season. Friday night. Let's talk about the left back position. Surely you've got to imagine that Celtic must be looking at some sort of other left back, because as it still stands right now, it's just Greg Taylor. There is nobody else to score, because Bernabei is still out on loan and by all accounts doesn't have a future. I think he's actually having his loan cancelled by, is it Independent? No, he's at Internacional in Brazil, but there's talk of an Argentinian team want to take him on loan now as well. So there's still only going to be one left back. You've got to surely give them the benefit of the doubt, Liam, that they must be looking at left back somewhere. But I understand the concern with you saying no names are getting mentioned. I can understand the worry, but surely, Liam, come on, they must be. They have to be.
I think we'll see Scott Bain starting at left back at one of the games in the pre-season. Somebody in the bus had mentioned.
Somebody said in the comments that he was an outfield player that wasn't good enough.
And you think about that. I mean, it's not even just like making the squad better. A left back will actually make the team better. Just a minute, and I don't know. I hope Schmeichel doesn't put up with any of that bullshit, of getting Greg Taylor dragged in towards the keeper and then, pushing him in to make the sandwich so that Hart couldn't jump. That's got to be addressed. That was every ball into the box. Everything is just, just an accident waiting to happen. I think we'll see, with these upcoming games in the States, seeing what he's like against MLS opposition and then going to play some of the big boys that might unleash one of their superstars on him. I don't know. The wee man always runs a bit like he's trying to dry a wash anyway. So I can't see this faring well for him. And if that's not we must have a target. We must have a target. What I'm hoping is maybe the target's one of the guys that play for either Canada, America, or something in the Copa. That waiting for we're going to go and we're going to get an MLS player and he's going to join the squad maybe while we're over in America. That's what I'm hoping is going to happen. Hope is went to imagine to fantasy to, it's unbelievable that we've been talking about it since last season. I remember before the season I said, I'll make my decision on how I think we've progressed when I see if we've improved on Taylor from left back, and we actually doubled down. We went 90-minute Taylor with no backup, nothing, and then no matter how shite he played, he still got a jersey and he got 90 minutes a game, and that just shows you where this board's at. And but it also gives Rodgers a bit of showing up as well too. Like, you don't see there's a weak link there. He's, when Celtic support, some of them are delusional. Coming up to the Euros, I was listening to some of the guys on Twitter and that talking about Greg Taylor, like, oh, we need a, he'll be a good backup or a good deputy. He's all heart, he gives everything. It's like fucking bullshit. He's never near good enough to play for Celtic. And if you're conning yourself into thinking that, okay, well, we've got other positions that are priority. I know, watching the same football as me, I think he's just a poor player. And it just shows their lack of ambition, that somebody like me, just looks at me and my head sinks every time I see him, just going on the park. He's a weak link. And I think we will vastly improve if we can get some quality in that. We'll maybe stop the horseshoe forming a game where the boys keep going back to, McGregor. I want somebody that's going to get the ball on the touchline, put his head up and beat a man. Not going to look for Callum McGregor to pass the ball back to. You know? I think we just, as a support, come on, how long are we going to wait for a left back?
We've had lots of left backs, Liam, and none of them can remove Greg Taylor out of the squad. That's not. So is that who's to blame there? Does that say more about Celtic scouting or the abilities of the players that are coming in? Because we spent $3.5 million on Bolingoli, who
Bolingoli was supposed to be the Kieran Tierney replacement, and Taylor was going to be his backup. But quickly the roles switched.
We paid another $3.5 to $4 million on Bernabé, who's garbage.
Yep.
We signed Liam Scales, that was signed as a left back. Who's apparently
Diego Laxalt came in on loan. He was
Greg Taylor's managed to keep them all at arm's length, and I'm not for one saying that we can't improve on Greg Taylor. Absolutely, I fully agree with you. Just don't think. I don't think he's as terrible as he is. I think the system certainly worked better for him under Ange. I think he's found out when it comes up against more powerful wingers, especially in Europe, and he is a weak link. That's a definite, because I mean every opposition manager thinks that as well. Hence why they always go after Greg Taylor. But to give him some credit, he's still got that jersey, and if Rodgers is willing to let our only other left back option, which isn't necessarily true, because like I said, Liam Scales, the world's greatest centre half, can apparently play left back as well. And didn't manage to even experiment playing him there either. I don't think there was cries for this Owen Beck to come in, who had.
Yeah, I've seen his name a few times tonight in the chat, mentioning him again.
Yang sent him packing in that game against Dundee. And I mean, we all know Yang's not exactly a world beater. I thought he had a good start to his season last year, but he kind of fizzled out. But I think you're right. We do obviously need to improve on him. He's not even offered a new contract. I think it runs out at the end of the year. So it makes you wonder. Be careful what you wish for if he's to leave, and then who knows who we get in. I like the look of that Ryan Sessegnon, but it's at Spurs, or was it Spurs? He's a free agent now, unless he's signed somewhere else now. He's only 24. I think a player like of his quality, he was like Player of the Year, and he won like Young Player of the Year in the Championship when he was at Fulham. Am I right? Well, I mean, and his career's really been stalled by injuries, which is obviously the worry. Who's out there that's going to take Greg Taylor's jersey? There's got to be somebody. But right now, Greg Taylor bats every single one of them away that come in, and you've got to give him credit for that.
I wouldn't say he's batted him away. I think he's been given much more opportunities than other players that we've had in that position. He played just as poor as Bolingoli and Laxalt that season that we, lost to 10. I thought he wasn't very good. He wasn't in the plans. Only Ange brought him back in for that. I think the fact that he's Scottish and he hits that Scottish quota is the only thing that's kept him in there. Also, a lot of people have just completely conned themselves into believing that somehow he's a great player because he hasn't lasted that long. And I think much more of the board and more of the coaching staff that he's lasted that long. Bernabé, I don't see a massive difference between Bernabé and Greg Taylor. I think what happens when Bernabé makes a mistake, we're all at him. Greg Taylor's made the same mistakes. We've talked about goals that we lost last season that resulted in points. It was right because of Greg Taylor, but we're not looking to get rid of him because we don't have anybody else. I think he's one of the luckiest professional players I've ever seen as far as getting a career in a game. You know, he's just one of those that everybody keeps dropping off or doing something daft. He's doing it by merit. It's not like he showed up and he's taking that game for everybody. He's just been the least shit out of a shit bunch.
Well, the thing is see, it's the contingency plan here that just concerns me the most. Is we literally have one first team left back, Greg Taylor. Obviously, Liam, we know exactly how you feel about him, and David, you're a bit kinder on Greg, but we all agree that we do need another one. Somebody that's just there as an option, because right now, if Greg Taylor gets injured or he gets a suspension in a league game, there is no out-and-out left back. Liam Scales, say we're led to believe, can play there. Myself and Liam on this show plenty of times last season when we were talking about the lineup for the weekend. How about we try Liam Scales at left back? We were trying our best to will it into existence, and it just wasn't happening. So I kind of just gave up the ghost on that one. So yeah, we do need another option in there. The boy Mitchell Frame that had a very nice 10-minute cameo against Feyenoord, the Champions League, never to be seen again. So you'd like to think that is one of the positions that they are looking at. But David, speaking of players who could get injured and leave us in a bit of a hole, Kyogo is obviously the only striker on the books right now. We've also got a busy schedule coming up in the next week, 3 games in pre-season. We've got one first-team striker in the team, so I would expect Kyogo's going to play a lot. This time last year, Brendan Rodgers told us that Kyogo has a pending shoulder injury, surgery that he requires, and it's up to the player when he wants to go and get it. Amazingly, he got through the entire season without that becoming a problem, but as far as we know, that surgery hasn't happened. It could still be a problem. But if Kyogo does get injured, obviously we are without a striker because the Adam Idah deal is still dragging along. A lot of people are convinced it's dead and buried after some words from the Norwich manager this week, which I think the manager of Norwich is perfectly right to say. He's not going to come out and say, he's off tomorrow. I mean, think about it. If Brendan Rodgers during this tour here said said about Matt O'Reilly, oh yeah, we're preparing for him to leave anyway, it wouldn't go down too well, even though it's kind of a bad kept secret. We kind of know that Matt O'Reilly's going to go. But again, it's the Adam Idah. Again, there's been reports here that he said that he wants the move, that he's trying to push for the move. Then you're seeing things about him playing and the Norwich manager saying he's in the plans. But yeah, right now, as it stands, Adam Idah is not in the building. He's not on any planes, no Instagram clues, flying up to Glasgow. We'll get one striker there. Again, you've got to imagine that surely they're looking at more than just Adam Idah and not putting all the eggs in that basket, David. Because again, if it does collapse, let's say Adam Idah goes out and plays for Norwich in their next friendly and does his cruciates in. You know, I had said that, I think I spoke last week when I was on with Mark on the TNF. I said, I think back to when Van Nistelrooy was meant to sign for Man United and he got injured on a training session that was broadcasted live on Sky Sports because it was big news that this guy was signing for Man United and he got injured there and he was out for a year. These things can happen. So you'd like to think that, okay, well, the Idah deal seems to be parked to the side now, whatever's going on there. Again, surely Celtic must be looking at other strikers. And obviously, Bojan Majowski's name's coming up a lot on Twitter. I would be in favour of signing Majowski. I think he's good. I rate him. You know, people are talking about does he progresses in Europe, but at the same time, they've also said they're not too bothered about Europe because the way the club treats Europe. But you know, Majowski's got a good record domestically. He's scored plenty of goals against Rangers. Keep that in mind as well, who are our biggest challenge every season. So to me, I think Majowski, you put him in our team, I think he would make plenty of chances. But whether it's Majowski or not, you'd like to think, David, that there must be some other striker they're looking at because right now, again, much like the Greg Taylor situation, we're in a bit of a predicament if Kyogo gets injured right now because then we have got nada up front at this point.
Yeah, I think we need to take solace in knowing that the Sinisalo, I forget his name, the keeper that we've just signed.
Yes.
His name appeared literally the day before. It was just like, oh, I've been linked to this boy, and he was signed. At that point, we were going, who are we getting linked with? There's no keeper coming in at this shit, and only Kasper Schmeichel's name was then started. And then out of nowhere, this boy signed first. So I think we need to maybe take into consideration that just maybe there are other targets that we just haven't heard of, and then out of nowhere, the name comes up, and then the next day or 2 days later, he's signed. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for. The Adam Idah thing is starting to drag on a bit for me now, though, Phil. Like, I was trying to be patient on Tuesday. But you're right. Any manager, anybody in life that wants to sell something to somebody, they don't make it obvious that they want to get rid, like they're really keen to get rid of it.
Yeah.
You've got a car that's like that you know somebody really wants to buy off you. You don't go, oh, please take it off my hands, because you're devaluing the product that you're trying to sell. So if you've got a manager saying like, oh, he's going to be an important player for us this year, we're pushing for the Premier League next season. You know, he's got. But the manager's not going to say, we really just want to get rid of this boy. Well, you know, we know Celtic want to sign him, so let's try and get as much as we can for. Well, just like what Celtic are trying to do for Matt O'Reilly. We know that Atletico Madrid and Atalanta are interested. They've made it obvious. Brendan Rodgers isn't going, oh, we just really want to just get rid of him. You know, we're quite happy to let him go, because then we're devaluing Matt O'Reilly. So it is. But my patience is wearing thin. Just play the game. Like Celtic, maybe just turn and say, look, we've got other targets. We're going to have to move on soon.
Yeah.
They might just Norwich go, whoa, hang on a minute. No, wait a minute.
Yep.
Right. Don't leave the table just yet. We can come to an agreement somewhere. And I think that's what just needs to happen. Celtic are good at negotiating deals and getting players that they want to, you know, that we want to sell. Like they know how to work this. And I think they're going to have to start making moves elsewhere if they aren't yet. If it's, you know, and I mean, I would like Adam Idah in, but this whole question of like, oh, we need to get a player that's really going to push us on in Europe. Well, do we want to hang all that on Adam Idah? A guy that, let's face it, he did brilliant, and he did do brilliant. I'm not denying that, but he didn't exactly completely just push Kyogo to the side and take the jersey. You know, it was a bit of horses for courses, you know, and I don't want us to be just hanging, you know, putting all our eggs in that one basket of just Adam Idah, when there are certainly other options out there that surely Rodgers is interested in. But I hope. But in saying that, I do hope the deal gets done. I'd like to get Adam Idah and another top striker. I mean, Brendan saying that he offered Rocco Vata to be the third choice striker this year. If that's the level of striker to be our third choice, then you know.
Yeah. The fact that he said that he was looking to offer somebody the third striker role suggests to me that Brendan does want three strikers, which makes sense. If you play a formation with one up front, and we're in a day and age where you're allowed 9 substitutes on the bench, you can bring 5 on. I think it makes sense to have 2 good forward options to rotate in, because Kyogo's not going to have a good game every week. If Adam Idah does sign, he's not going to have a good game every week. So it's good to have an alternative there. You think back to a few years ago when Brendan was in charge the first time, Dembele, Edward and Griffiths, all very capable strikers, no matter who played. So it can be done. And then you go even further back to when Martin O'Neill was in charge. We actually played 2 up front. We had Sutton, Larsson and Hartson. It's not too bad, isn't it? They were all kept pretty happy and rotated around when needed to be. So, yeah, I'd like to think that we can go into a similar model of having 3 viable strikers. Ponge McNugget does point out that Maeda can play up front. Yeah, they did score a hat-trick this time last year in pre-season against Yokohama in a wild game that we lost 6-4, if you remember right. But also, Liam, just to bring this up as well, Thomas Burns and Smell the Glove are pointing this out. Apparently, Bologna, the Italian team, inquired about Majowski, and it says Aberdeen want around 7 million for Majowski. Not worth it in their opinion, Thomas Burns says. And Smell the Glove says Bologna have stated they were quoted 8 million for Majowski.
They've moved on to somebody else, so did they not sign someone else? They've moved on.
Ah, okay.
So I don't know if they're still interested in Majowski.
Because they've just sold somebody, is that Zugzi, to Manchester United as well.
Yep.
Oh, well, Bologna's got the money then. Surely they can fork it out. But yeah, it's fair enough. If that's what they're looking for, then you know, then I guess maybe we won't be getting that. But how can Aberdeen expect to? I don't know if Aberdeen will sell him at that price. I think a lot of teams will be kind of like, I don't know. But a fair play to Aberdeen. You know, they're pushing back. He is easily their best player when you think about it. But either way, Liam, you've got to think again. Third striker, it has to surely be another thing that's on the list, because again, much like the Greg Taylor situation, Kyogo gets injured, we're in big trouble. And there was times last season we saw it when our striker wasn't on any sort of form, we were struggling. You know, it wasn't like a lot of goals were coming from other areas. So you've got to have strikers that are on form and strikers available, or else we could be in a bit of soapy bubble, Liam.
I was really hoping we would have went for Miovski. Miovski just looked like he checked all the boxes for us. And I don't think 78 million is outrageous for him. I think that's probably the price. The fact that he is getting interest from other clubs that are big clubs, good names, shows you how valued he is as well. I don't think there's many offers. I don't think we're fighting with Idah for other offers. Other clubs want to sign him. It was like third, fourth choice at a really shite Norwich team last year.
Mm-hmm.
So and that was what a lot of people were upset when we got him, because he was a guy who couldn't get a game there. I don't think playing 6 months in Scotland or 4 months in Scotland has turned him into a world beater. But he works well in their team. But he could have an off form patch as well, just like Kyogo did as well. And at that point, that's where we need that other striker. He's proven that he can run hot and cold by his appearances previously for Norwich. So I think we definitely have to get somebody in, and I don't think it could be a project. We've got young strikers in there that maybe could come up and help and all that, but they all seem to be dropped like flies and leaving anyway. I don't know, why we even have a youth team, or what we call it now, a B team.
Yep, no pathway. But that in the days, a pathway manager, remember? Managing that pathway to the first team. We'll see if that comes to fruition this year.
Well, but look at our coaching staff right now. We've tried to, we've taken the spirit of the Lisbon Lions, 11, 12 players all born within 30 minutes or 30 miles of Parkhead, and turned it into that seems to be our scouting, our recruitment thing as well now. It's like, okay, how least amount of work can we get? Who do we know that's the obvious names? And, I've near Bitton back, or, Lewis. It's just the amount of names that have been recycled this summer, or this, Eddie coming back and that. So who's making the list? And I know I've listened to Mark and Boyce and yourselves and all that on some of the other podcasts. Who is making the list? Who's in head of recruitment? Are they being identified by Rodgers staff? Or is it Nichols and Lyle? And we all have that eerie feeling, the unseen, that we don't see, the cabal.
The cabal, the Illuminati.
It might as well be, because is absolutely shite with players. I mean, pictures leaked to the boys Sinisalo in the training gear before they'd even announced a player, and it's like, come on, it's like they even keep good news. They don't want to share it. It's like, I've never seen a word so like their PR department, other than fucking happy birthday and selling the latest clobber. Absolutely terrible. And we live in an age of communications right now, with fan engagement is at its utmost, and it's shown that it works within clubs and all that. No, I know your dinosaur board, they want to know nothing. And it's not like they're playing that, holding their cards close to their chest because they've got big plans. We're seeing right now that they don't. And they're creating an awful lot of unrest with the fans. As David said earlier, getting frustrated. God, I've never been more frustrated with a Celtic board in my life, just because nobody knows what's going on. Nobody knows who's signing the players. Nobody knows if we even have a target right now lined up. It seems to me that we go from, okay, keeper, that's done. Right, open the next file. Who's that? Okay, left back. Right, let's try and find a left back. And there doesn't seem to be any multitasking going on at the same time. Whereas, like, okay, we're bringing in 3 or 4 different positions. It just seems very piecework right now, that we're doing one to another, to another, to another. And hopefully they'll just blow my doors off on Monday or Tuesday, and it'll be like 3 signings when they get to America. People are meeting up with the team there or something. But you'd never know it with this club. It's frustrating. I don't even look at the club news stuff anymore, because it's just shite. And then I get a lot of my news off YouTube, and so you get all these Celtic, hello Celtic fans, great news, And
I know the exact videos you're talking about. Yes.
Oh Christ, they've signed about 20 odd players, that I've never seen yet,
Yep.
Coming to Celtic, And anyway, so it's I don't know who we're in after next. I hope it is a striker. I hope there's a left back. I think we need another winger as well. By the way, I don't know if any did any of you get a chance to watch the Copa America? Did you watch any of the Canada games?
No, it was on just too late in the morning. I've only seen brief
I tried to
highlights
watch
here and
some,
there.
but I fell asleep waiting on it because I think it got delayed because of the final. No, sorry, that was the final. But they were on a bit late. I did try to watch them, but I kept dozing off.
Well, there's a boy playing for Canada on the wing, Schaffelberg. I mean, he's 24, plays with Toronto FC, so he's no out of our range. He came on and he changed games for Canada. The boy was direct. The boy could stretch the defence. And he was taking on, like, you know, Peruvians, Chileans, Argentinians. You know, there was Nate Muggsy was up against. And
Semi-finalists, after all, Liam. Best Canada's ever done, so they weren't just like knocked out in the group stages and that was it. Semi-finals.
I think we missed a trick with Jesse March as well, because see the way he comes across in interviews, Canada's just fell in love with him. He's like, you can see that that's a guy that's got a football philosophy. You know, he's American version of Ange, you know, not as grumpy as Ange, but you can see that he's got. It was really enjoyable watching Canada in this tournament, because it reminded me of what Ange was doing in his first season as well, where it was like we were playing direct football, we were moving the ball, and you could see that he was starting a system. They lost their first game to Holland 4-0, and then every game since that they drew nothing each with France, which is France had a full-on competitive side, and Canada had a couple after crossbar, one after crossbar and one after post. We were much more looking to win that game than what France was. So hopefully, I'm really hoping that that's the market we're shopping in right now, because you're seeing that, you know, Canadian and American players. All right, we've you know, I thought Johnson played really well during the thing. Did you see the headbutt on him?
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah, saw that one.
That's another thing that was funny about both these two tournaments we have coming up with our season. VAR and the reliance in VAR seem to have went right out the window. You know, the Scotland tackle that could have been a penalty, and seeing that this guy headbutts Johnson, and it's so hard. You can see the back of his jaw when you see it in slow motion. You can see his jaw rattling. He hit him that hard, and he didn't go down and roll out the stadium like, you know, most of the South American players would have done. He went down, just sort of took a knee and got back up because he was angry and figuring the guy was getting sent off. And no, they slowed it down. And somehow the referees and VAR thought, oh, it was okay to keep him on. Like, on right. So VAR wasn't nowhere near relied upon as what it was in the last couple of tournaments. And so it'll be interesting to see if that's going to be rolled out at club level as well, where we're using it more for just more contentious points, or the rest of the refereeing fraternity is like, hey, you know what? Scotland's out doing this here by being shite. Let's see if we can be as shite as Scottish referees.
Oh, don't get me started on that Scotland decision, because that was diabolical, that one, the penalty. But no, I did see much of the Copa America just other than highlights. But yeah, Canada obviously semi-finalists, and maybe Alistair Johnson can now put a good word in a couple of the players there if they're on the up, definitely. Because again, I've said it enough times. I said it in the run up to the Euros about these unfashionable countries, and we saw at the Euros some of them were excellent to watch, like Georgia and Albania. We need to start getting in and about and getting some of these players before the big clubs catch on. These unfashionable nations are starting to produce good players. So you never know. Maybe Alistair, he'll put some a good word in. And also to Jim C in the chat, I said earlier on about the Sutton, Hearts and Last. They also mentioned, what about Tommy Johnson? Of course, Tommy Johnson scored the winning goal for the league title in Martin O'Neill's first season. How can I forget Tommy Johnson? And speaking of Tommies as well, because this name's came up as well tonight. Smell the glove has mentioned it, David. I think you might speak a bit about him, because I saw you in the group chat having a wee mention of it. Tommy Conway. He's saying he's on a free. I don't know if he's on a free, but I think he's been told by Bristol City that he's not really in the plans at the moment. But obviously he went to the Euros, didn't get a single minute, Stevie Clark. But yeah, he did go to the Euros. He was denied a debut goal for Scotland in the first team by, ironically, the goalkeeper that we have signed, Sinisalo. So it'd be some buzz if we were to sign Conway and the boy that pulled off that phenomenal save from him with a few minutes to go. But yeah, his names came up, and again, we're talking about striker options and whatnot. And if he's down the pecking order, would he be the worst suggestion? Because you threw out some facts earlier on in the Boise Bus chat about his career and whatnot. And don't judge him just on the fact you've only watched 10 minutes for the Scotland national team. There's a bit more to his game than that, isn't there, David?
Well, yeah, his career didn't start 10 minutes at the end of the Finland game. I mean, this boy made pretty big headlines when he was 17, 18, when he played in a FA Cup game against Aston Villa and scored. That got them to go to a replay, and he scored again. So, I mean, he seems like a boy. Listen, like, I don't. He's the question I got asked was, does he improve our team going into Europe? Well, obviously, no. I wouldn't say yet. Certainly, like, but I ain't gonna judge him that harshly. The reason he's been made available at Bristol City is because he's made it quite clear. Obviously, he's trying to get a move to either, I think he's been linked to Rangers as well. So I don't know how much truth involved in either club actually trying to sign him, but he's made obviously aware that he's wanting to move on for Bristol City, and the manager said that he only wants to focus on players that want to be at Bristol City. That's why he's fell down the pecking order. It's nothing to do with his ability. He scores plenty of goals for the Scottish under 21 side. He got called up to the national side, and I thought he looked quite promising when he came off in that 10-minute spell. He just looked direct, and he looked hungry, and he looked like he was wanting to prove a point, which is what these young players do. They play with no fear. I mean, and I said in the chat, if Rocco Vata was being offered to be the third choice, Brendan's word, third choice striker at the club, and I think Tommy Conway's had a bit more of a better career so far than Rocco Vata has. And this is a point that I made in the chat was, and of course I'm not comparing the abilities of these players, right? But the point I made in the chat was Barcelona is an example of a club that it's do or die about winning their league. They need to win the league over Real Madrid. It's just in their makeup, right? They've become that kind of club. But they're willing to risk playing 16-year-old boys that have looked good in their youth system. Now, yes, like obviously their youth system is far superior than ours, granted. But then their first team is also vastly superior to ours. But they're still willing to let a 16-year-old boy come on and play because he looked good enough. We had a player in Ben Doak that apparently is going to be a generational talent for Scotland. And I want to say that if he'd went and stayed fit at that tournament, we wouldn't have brought him on. And that's the difference between these boys. Yamal stood out in that tournament because one, yes, he's clearly a generational talent, but two, plays with no fear. And I just kind of want to see, I think maybe that's the reason why our boys aren't getting the opportunity, because one, we're too scared to use them. That's the main reason. But two, like, they all play with no fear. Tommy Conway looked like he came off that bench against Finland with no fear, something to prove, and he's like I said, 17-year-old, 18-year-old at the time, getting to play against Aston Villa in FA Cup. He took his opportunity. So if this is a player that we're willing to bring in as a third choice striker behind Kyogo and Adam Idah, let's say, I'm more than happy for it, because people are writing him off before he's even been properly linked, and I'm like, well, I've not even really seen what he's really got, and who knows what kind of player he could become if given the opportunity. So yeah, if the point I'm making, long story short, is if he was to come in, I wouldn't, I'd be quite happy for him to come in and to see what he's got. I certainly wouldn't want him to be the main man, though. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, Monty's right. They can't get a game for the sake of it. They need to earn it. Like, that's totally true. And obviously, I imagine Yamal at the time at Barcelona did deserve it, but
certainly has. What a player!
I think a player like Ben Doak did he not have shown enough to be shown that he was good enough to deserve a chance? Is it like Kelly, another boy that he was given an opportunity, but he's shown that Brendan obviously likes him. It's a hard one, isn't it? Especially for us, because I totally understand that, at the end of the day, the most important thing is Celtic winning. And we can't just give players, we can't just take punts on all the youth players. But Tommy Conway's not that young. What is he, 21, 22?
Something like that, yeah.
No, he's not going to be good enough. Well, we don't know that yet. Give him an opportunity if he comes in. I don't know. I'm
Well, he's been
kind of
playing in the English Championship, which is a good level, and he's been playing consistently. But I think it was David Kelly came in the chat and just said that his situation is, or that started earlier on. Oh no, maybe I didn't. But basically said that he's in the last year's contract and he's now training with our youth team. So something's happened there to put him in the pecking order. So again, we'll wait and see what can happen on that one. But we'll now move on just before we finish up. Then another deal that's obviously gone a wee bit cold as well, because 1 minute it's on, the next minute it's off, and obviously Mark Rowan comes in and says, Liam, that still remembering Brendan Rodgers last summer saying he wanted a physical presence in midfield. We haven't been linked to anybody yet, but earlier on in the chat, Edward Moore came in and says Celtic and Benfica have a full agreement over the deal for Paulo Bernardo. Less than 3.4 million, 30% sell clause. He did still train with the squad this week, but will now no longer travel with the team to face Almeria. So yeah, there's been a sort of the deal's on, the deal's off type thing going on. And I've said to David a couple of times on the Tuesday ticket, Liam, I didn't expect Paulo Bernardo on my bingo cards to be the transfer saga of the summer, but this one's dragging on. I felt that one was pretty much a slam dunk. It would just be done and dusted. But no, only Celtic can agree a fee a year ago where, a loan with an option to buy and then come back and go, actually, can we change it a wee bit? But again, reports have said that they've agreed a deal. Apparently, he left the training camp earlier in the week to travel to Glasgow. That's not came to fruition yet. Then he was back training with them. But again, Edward Moore's coming in and saying the latest now is that he will not travel for the friendly against Almeria. But where are you, Liam, on Paulo Bernardo? Because obviously I think we need more than just him for midfield, because we're going to lose Matt O'Reilly. It'd be amazing if he stays. I would love to get to the end of the window and Matt O'Reilly's still a Celtic player, but realistically I feel like we've got to prepare for that. And I've said before, Liam, that Bernardo's a good start in that area, but he shouldn't be the end. And I do think we do need to look at getting another option in there. Liam's disconnected. I guess we'll just talk to you. No, he's coming back. He's coming back. There he is. He's back. But yeah, Liam, so yeah, just how are you feeling about Bernardo right now and the dance that's going on between Celtic and the man himself? Is he going to... I think he will be a Celtic player in due course, but I am quite surprised at how long this is going on for. And yeah, I do think we do need another player in there, not just him, because we'll lose O'Reilly. Once you go to the next level of midfielders that we've got, it's quite a stark drop-off. So I do think another option should be on the shopping list, Liam.
I think Bernardo benefited from playing a number of games in a row last year. He came into a game, like he was in our side for the European games and then he was dropped for the league games. And then when he came back in, he got a continued run and he started to look good. So you can see there's potential in that there. But God, we've dealt with Benfica before. We robbed him for Jota, the 6 million for Jota and then being able to spin that into 28 or whatever, 27, whatever that was. So you'd think there'd be a familiarity between the clubs and there'd be in a working arrangement that when they quoted you a number for something like that, yeah, we would actually, go through with that. Can't be good for a player's confidence either to be nickel and dime in the club that we don't value him as much as what you are, knowing that the guy, pretty well helped win us a cup, and he's done well against Rangers and that. I think he's a good player. But you know what? I still think he's probably on the same level as Odin, Thiago Holm, or what is going as well. Like, given an extended run in the team, he might look good as well. So it's interesting to see where it's going. It just shows up the club for what we are right now, penny pinching misers with the Scrooges of football. Every penny's a prisoner, and. Yeah, wear and tear on the fans. I hate it. Just either sign them or don't sign them. But this haggling, Jesus, it must be exhausting. Benfica will never want to deal with us again. Never. Especially if you're sending players on loan, here's the agreed fee, and then we're turning back and haggling it, And especially, it's like, wait a minute, he won you a cup, So,
yeah, he was very vital because you take out some of the big moments that he had. In fact, David Kelly said about Bernardo's at Benfica. It's a ton of Portugal under 21 caps, changed 3 derby games that won us the league and the cup. And yeah, you take his moments out this season, and it ends very, very differently for us. So I've said a few times now, we've been talking about him, and yeah, me and David have talked about him a lot. He seems to be a regular fixture on the Tuesday ticket. He's everywhere bar Celtic's first team right now, but he's always on a Tuesday night. He's always a topic of discussion. But I do think if he comes in and he does get a prolonged run and he's made to feel like you are a vital part of this team, I think we'll see the best of him. I think he will develop into a good player. But yeah, I do think we need to look at some other options as well in midfield, because once you're looking at Hatate, McGregor, Bernardo, and then from there, Odin, Thiago Home, who you brought up, Iwata seems to just be that guy that comes on to see out a game. He's kind of got that role these days at Celtic. And then Kelly looks like he's going to leave in December when his contract's up, because his contract expires at the end of the calendar year, not the end of a football season. So he's off skate, looks like. And yeah, the midfield options at the moment are a bit sparse when you take away the ones who start. So yeah, I do think it needs to be another body signed for that. But I'm sure we'll deal with that in due course. But yeah, Friday feeling back on the books for the new season, folks. We'll wrap it up in a couple of moments. But yeah, obviously with pre-season, usually Friday feeling is always to look forward to the game at the weekend. There isn't still any competitive games yet. That's still 2 weeks away, because next weekend is it's the week after that. It's definitely the week after that. We play Kilmarnock on the 4th, Sunday the 4th. So next week it's still no competitive games. So my plan going forward with Friday night in the schedule is, because I want to try and do more nostalgia episodes. People have asked many times, where is it? Obviously, there's going to be weekends where there's international breaks, and as we know, many people don't really enjoy an international break, and there's no Celtic game to look forward to. So I'm thinking about shoehorning some episodes of nostalgia into those weekends during the season. That gives us something to do on the Friday night instead of taking the weekend off like we've done last season. So I think we can do that. That's definitely my plan. Next week we might do a wee nostalgia episode. I've got a wee concept lined up. I said to Mick about it, and he said he couldn't do tonight. So that's what I thought. We'll do Friday Feeling tonight. We'll just have a wee recap of what's going on, especially with the Kasper Schmeichel news. So yeah, maybe next week we'll have a wee nostalgia episode thrown in there. And then the week after that, we'll get back on to the preview shows, the Friday Feeling preview shows, looking ahead to the game, because it'll be the Kilmarnock game. And yeah, that's the plan going forward, guys. So yeah, other than that, it's we'll wrap it up there, folks. So thanks everyone for watching, choosing us on a Friday night. It's always appreciated. David, thanks for being on, mate. It's good to see you on a Friday night, man. Good to have you on.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, no worries at all, mate. No problem at all. And Liam, as always a pleasure, mate, being on a Friday night with yourself. So it's first tradition around here that you and I are on a Friday. So yeah, we will catch you next time. I'm sure next Tuesday, me and David will be back on. So maybe Idah will have signed, maybe Bernardo will have signed. Maybe somebody will have signed then, who knows? Celtic keeping us guessing. We'll also have probably a game to talk about in some capacity, because they'll have played DC United. And I don't know when the City game and the Chelsea game is, what days they fall on, but the DC United game will definitely have happened. So if you're going to be staying up late for that on Saturday, then good luck, Make sure you get plenty of sleep beforehand. It's all right for you, Liam, because you're in the correct time zone. You're obviously over on that side of the world, so it's not too bad for you. It's our turn now to get up at ungodly hours to watch the Celtic, but that's what we do.
Worth it. It's worth every minute.
Of course. So yeah, we will head out, guys, and we'll catch you later. And again, thanks for watching, and see you, folks.